This is the slogan of the Houthi movement, a small rebel army that now rules over 70% of Yemenis and is fighting a bitter war against Saudi Arabia and its allies. But how did a group from the mountains in Yemen's far north take control, and what exactly do they want? The Houthis emerged in Yemen's northwestern Sada province in the 1990s, established by former MP and religious scholar Hussein Houthi. Al-Houthi said he wanted to protect and revive Zaidi Islam, a sect of Shiism that makes up 35% of Yemen's population. Zaydis have a long and powerful history in Yemen and had ruled large parts of the country under an imamate since the year 897. When a civil war broke out in North Yemen in 1962, the last imam was overthrown. The Houthis say that this, along with the ensuing government policies, left many Zaydis feeling increasingly disenfranchised. When al-Houthi emerged, he began to rail against the influence of U.S. imperialism and Saudi Salafism on Yemen's rulers, in particular on President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who himself was a Republican Zaydi. Al-Houthi's ideas appealed to many, but not all Zaydis supported him. His opponents accused him of pro-Iran links and a desire to reinstate the imamate, a theocratic system of rule led by a religious leader who must be a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad.
لسنا مستعدين أن نرى أنفسنا جنودا لأمريكا. لسنا مستعدين أن نرى اليهود يعبثون في البلاد الإسلامية هنا وهنا فنسكت. وثقوا لأنهم لم يسمعوا أحد يتكلم.
In 2004, he launched an armed rebellion against Saleh after he attempted to arrest Hussein Houthi. A few months later, Houthi was killed by Yemeni police, but his death only fueled what would become 6 years of fighting known as the Sada Wars. By 2009, the Houthi insurgency had spread beyond Sada province and into Saudi territory, where a large number of Saudi's Shia population lived. Saudi Arabia intervened, pushing the Houthis back and helping Yemen's government regain control of its north. When the Arab Spring uprising spread to Yemen in 2011, the Houthis joined the protest movement that ultimately forced Saleh to step down after a 33-year rule. But Saleh didn't go quietly, and his fight with his replacement, Abd Rabbi Mansur Hadi, would destabilize the country, leading to an economic crisis in what was already the region's poorest country. The Houthis saw an opportunity and re-emerged, retaking control in parts of the north. Then, in an unexpected move, they allied with their former enemy Saleh and stormed the capital Sana'a in September 2014. With the former president's system of patronage and corruption and his links within Yemen's divided army, the Houthis were met with little resistance.
أما هذه الخطوة التاريخية الحكيمة الرشيدة الصحيحة السليمة المسؤولة فهي لمصلحة هذا البلد، لأن من مصلحة هذا البلد أن لا يستمر الفراغ. استمرار الفراغ هو الخطأ وهو الخطر.
A new government was formed in Sana'a, and Houthi forces continued to expand their control rapidly south to Bib province and west to Houdeia. President Hadi fled the country and sought backup from Saudi Arabia as he began to grow concerned about a Houthi re-emergence and what it could mean for Iran's influence on its border. In March 2015, a coalition led by Saudi Arabia and the UAE stepped in and launched a campaign of heavy bombings across Houthi strongholds.
To save Yemen from a takeover by a radical militant group, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its GCC allies, as well as its allies outside the GCC, have made a decision to respond to the legitimate request by the legitimate president of Yemen and to provide the assistance needed.
The intervention was spearheaded by Mohammed bin Salman, then Saudi's Minister of Defense, and dubbed Operation Decisive Storm. As the name suggests, it was intended to be short and swift, reinstating Yemen's government in Sana'a and highlighting Salman's leadership potential ahead of his bid for crown prince. But the campaign failed to oust the Houthis, who strengthened their grip on power and continued to expand into government-held territories. A number of UN-led peace talks between both sides were attempted, including ceasefires and prisoner exchanges, but ultimately failed to stop the conflict. Meanwhile, the humanitarian situation in Yemen became desperate, pushing the already impoverished people to the brink of famine. Human rights organizations accuse both the Houthis and the Saudi-led coalition of crimes against humanity, including the targeting of civilian areas, hospitals, and schools. In December 2017, Ali Abdullah Saleh formally broke ties with the rebels in a televised speech and announced he was open to dialogue with the Saudi-led coalition.
كل جماهير شعبنا العظيم في كل المحافظات في كل المديريات في كل العزل في كل الأحياء في كل مكان إلى أن يهبوا هبة رجل واحد للدفاع عن الثورة والجمهورية والوحدة والحرية.
The Houthis accused Saleh of treachery. 2 days later, the man who was once deemed invincible and survived numerous assassination attempts was killed by a Houthi sniper in Sana'a. The group began to root out all opposition in areas under their control, accused of detaining and torturing journalists, academics, students, and minorities, as well as recruiting child soldiers. Meanwhile, they continued to expand their territory, launching a series of reprisal attacks into Saudi Arabia. On September 14, 2019, Saudi's Aramco oil facilities were hit by drone strikes, shutting down 2 of its main facilities and taking out 5% of the global oil supply. The Houthis claimed the strike, citing it as a victory against their adversary, but Saudi and the US blamed Iran, accusing them of using the Houthis as cover to launch their own attacks on the Gulf. Iran denied playing a role in the attack, as well as repeated accusations that had funded and armed the Shia rebels since the beginning of the war. 6 years on, the Houthis looked closer than ever to seizing total control of Yemen, confident they can hold out longer than the Saudis and the Yemeni government. Nearly 6 decades after the imamate was overthrown, what will happen if the Houthis win the war? The situation in Yemen, particularly the conflict involving the Houthi movement and its impact on the country, is undeniably challenging and distressing. It's a complex web of historical grievances, regional power struggles, and humanitarian crises that have devastated countless lives. Amidst this turmoil, it's crucial to acknowledge the resilience and courage of the Yemeni people who are enduring unimaginable hardships. The conflict has inflicted immense suffering, leading to profound humanitarian crises and severe economic challenges. The Houthis' rise to power and the ensuing clashes have caused widespread displacement, disrupted livelihoods, and strained the already fragile infrastructure. Yet, within this turmoil, there are stories of bravery, resilience, and unwavering hope. Communities have come together, showing incredible strength in the face of adversity, providing support and solidarity to one another. There are individuals tirelessly working to provide aid, medical assistance, and essential resources, often under incredibly challenging circumstances. Despite the darkness of this situation, there are glimmers of hope. Efforts by humanitarian organizations and dedicated individuals persist in providing assistance and striving for peace. The aspirations of the Yemeni people for stability, peace, and a better future remain strong. Recognizing the suffering and challenges faced by the Yemeni people is essential. It's crucial for the international community to continue supporting humanitarian efforts and to actively seek a peaceful resolution to this devastating conflict. It's in unity, compassion, and collective efforts that a path towards healing and rebuilding Yemen can be found.